What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Political Spectrum Podcast. We're a podcast that collects people with different political beliefs on the political spectrum and gathers them together and have them talk about recent news, events, politics, etc. So we just had a historic election last night where history was made and Donald Trump was officially elected president. It looks like he's going to get somewhere around 290, 300 electoral votes in the long run. Looks like Hillary might win the popular vote. I am here today with our Trumpist, the person on our podcast who was supporting Donald Trump. He lives a little... Talk. Well, what are you feeling right now?
Well, Paul, I feel just joy. Just a spiritual transcendence. In all seriousness, look, I'm a natural-born pessimist, right? And I feel like for the first time in a very long time that my country has a future. I actually feel optimistic. This is a rare thing for me. And oh, you're muted, by the way.
I was just drinking my water, so I didn't want to,
Well, that's okay. The people need to hear you drink your water, Paul. But yeah,
people singing.
Oh my God, Paul! I went into this night. Well, I guess day for me, night for you guys. Just so depressed. Like we're gonna lose. My country's going to die. This is bad. But it didn't, and it won't, and it was wonderful.
And what an election it was, and it proved a lot of things. Very important. So I just want to suffice something very quickly. I am going to be getting on with Frank tonight. So for those of you that don't know, I'm shooting this at like 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Charlie is 14 hours ahead of us. He's in Japan for a few months. And Frank couldn't get on now, but I will be talking to him tonight, and that'll be the second half of this video, or maybe like the last 2/3. All right, so I just want to say, when you were watching some like the results last night, and we'll start early, because I noticed things going awry for Hillary even very early on, because it looked like Trump had a huge lead in Florida, just like you predicted. Well, not a huge lead, but a consistent lead in Florida for the majority of the night. So, and talk a little bit about Florida, because I know that's a big thing for you.
Well, yeah, it's my home.
Yeah, exactly.
Florida it's an interesting state. It is a state of many parts, right? People don't really there seems to be two conflicting ideas of Florida. There's basically Miami and rednecks. That's actually kind of true. And the rednecks are the best. So Miami is, of course, always solid blue. And then you have Tampa, Orlando, and Tallahassee. Those are your blue enclaves. Everything else is consistently red. And I have spent so much of my time like during this election cycle in Florida. And like there was just so much passion and so much energy there. And call it instinct, call it gut, but I've had the feeling like this can't be stopped. Like, we're going to take this state. And we did. And it was glorious. I mean, people have to understand, Florida is a staunchly conservative state. Old Florida was part of the Old South. Everything that is blue in that state is a Yankee import. Because after the war, we cleared out the swamps, and then you lovely people said, "Oh, it doesn't snow here. Let's go there."
Yay!
So thanks for that.
You're welcome. And we keep coming too.
Yes, you do, and
mostly the conservative ones, though.
Well, mostly the elderly ones, right?
Yeah.
And it is interesting. I love Florida. You know, it's my home. I love it, warts and all, and it came through for me in a big way.
Preach. So one thing I want to talk about, and I think this is something that's reminiscent of what everyone's trying to figure out right now, is why the polling was so wrong. Now, we touched a little bit about this on Sunday, and you and I we're basically on the same boat here. Now, I'm not a Trump supporter. I voted for Gary Johnson because I'm a libertarian. I wasn't going to vote for Gary Johnson. But the polls all indicated that Hillary Clinton would win this election and would win almost all the states that Trump did win. And just talk a little bit about why you think the polling data was so wrong.
Well, I mean, polling data, it's a formula, right? And it basically you try to get a sample of people, and then you try to extrapolate that into a prediction for an entire state, an entire region, an entire country. And that just doesn't make a great deal of sense on its own premise. Now, specifically for this election, from the very beginning, from the moment Trump announced his candidacy, there has been a consistent and unrelenting propaganda storm against him. Everything he said, everything he proposed, he was literally Hitler. And so if you're talking to people, I've done this myself, like, you don't want to admit that you're a Trump supporter because there's huge social censure involved. And so I don't blame people for wanting to hide their support. I did it myself a few times. And so if on a call poll, right, when someone calls you for a poll, you're talking to them, right? Yeah, and even before they ask you who you're voting for, they probably asked you several questions. And psychologically, you have that aversion. You don't want to make this person dislike you. That's a basic human response. So people underreported. Furthermore, the Democrats and the pollsters who are in their pocket completely it's true. They completely underestimated. They completely underestimated turnout. They underestimated the number of voters that would come out for Trump. They underestimated who would come out for Trump, and they underestimated Trump's wide appeal. So I mean, yeah, that's why the polls were wrong.
Yeah, and one other thing with the polling data, why I believe it was wrong, and I'm sure
it's also rigged.
Very similar with the Brexit situation. And again, I have to credit Steve Davies with this, which I mentioned on Sunday. He says that in Brexit, we had the Leave side underreported because a lot of new voters were coming out, and those people are not polled at all because they are not expected to vote. Now, the same thing happened, I believe, this time around. So we had the secret Trump voter along with the Trump voter that has never really voted before, as I called them last time, the first-time voters, really. So Trump won this election, and it put him maybe 5 points ahead in states that he needed to be 5 points ahead. And he also, in Pennsylvania, for instance, we had areas like Union areas go more red than they have had in decades, since probably
Michigan.
Ronald. Yes. Pennsylvania, Michigan, since Ronald Reagan. So, and I know you're big on helping these people out. So tell me what you think a Trump vision for, like the union workers are. What do you think Trump would do to help them out to get the jobs back?
Well, I think if you are a union worker, right, or you are someone who supports the working class, unfair trade and mass immigration are your worst enemies, because both of those things destroy the wages of the worker, and they drive jobs overseas. So you have basically, they're either underemployed or they're unemployed. And I think people, it's a basic survival instinct. People are figuring out, okay, the Democrats used to have our back on this, but they don't anymore. They've switched. So let's go to this Trump guy. He's going to amend our trade agreements to help salvage what's left of our industry and help it grow again. He's going to stop the mass importation of labor. I mean, that's really basically it. He is going to he's going to use the power of the state to set economic parameters, and within those parameters, the free market will help the working class.
Okay.
Basically, laissez-faire capitalism with borders.
Sounds like a clear vision on what it wants to do, and we'll see if he can get it done with this Congress. What do you think?
The Congress that belongs to us now.
Congress that belongs to us now. What do you? So it looks like Republicans are keeping both the House and the Senate. To what degree? It's still actually up in the air in New Hampshire. So it could be 52, 47, 48. I think there's one independent, right? And or 51.
Yeah, but the independent caucuses with the Democrats.
Yeah, I know. So it's like, so it looks like Republicans are going to still have a lead. Do you think there's going to still be people on the Republican side that go against some of what Donald Trump wants?
There might be some holdouts. Some of the NeverTrumpers might decide to stick to their vaguely established principles that don't make any sense. If they do that, that's okay, but they will face the wrath of the voters. There's a mandate here. Trump has been elected. He is the executive now, and he is the GOP now. They can toe the line, or they can go.
That's certainly true. So one thing that played such a huge part in this, you'd look at these Trump rallies. You'd see thousands of people turn up for all of these rallies, and he had I don't know, dozens of rallies, maybe over 100 rallies this election cycle, and he never
he had at least, I'd say at least 100.
Yeah, he had at least 100, and he had thousands of people turn up for every single one of his rallies. The passion of the Trump voter, the enthusiasm, and I see that enthusiasm in you, and I see that passion in you. So just clarify.
Thank you, Paul.
So I know I already asked you how you're feeling, but just clarify your euphoria right now, and clarify how you and probably 40-something% of America is feeling right now, upper 40s.
Sure. Well, look, not long before the election, Hillary had a big rally in Philly, and Cher was there.
Oh boy.
And I think Springsteen was there. Was it JayZ who showed up?
Yeah, JayZ showed up.
And
by the way, Lena Dunham's probably going to go back to Canada, and Amy Schumer too. So
thank Christ, let them go.
Net gain, baby.
Absolutely. Look, and she got 10,000 people there. That same day, Trump got 11,000 people with himself and a flag. Like that's all it takes. We're nationalists. We love our country, and we think it is the greatest political good. So we see someone, Trump, for the first time in decades, actively asserting America. And America, not just America the idea, but America the people, and America the place, the country, the nation. And he is saying, I will work for you. I don't work for donors. I don't work for the, what would you call them? The Goldman Sachs crowd, the Davos. Yeah, Wall Street, the Davos managerial class, right? I don't work for them. I work for you. And Trump is in many ways kind of a class traitor. Like he has kind of like he has abandoned the what we have that passes for an aristocracy, and he has come to us. He has come to the people and said, "Let me help you." So we feel hope, because for at least 8 years now, basically, but it really picked up in the last 4 or so. People like me, right, and people who hold my views, we have just been consistently told, you are awful. How dare you think this? You are sexist, racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, ableist, ageist, fat-shaming, transphobic, whatever you want to call it, right?
And people are still saying that today. I see so many Facebook posts. But
oh, yes. It's a white lash, Paul, remember. That's what CNN said. It's a white lash. They're so racist. Like they straight up hate white people. It's kind of interesting to watch. But so what we feel is, here comes someone, because even National Review and people like that, they were saying, like, oh yes, we have to fight against the horrible sexism and racism in our midst. And finally, here comes Trump, and he says, look, you're not perfect, but there's nothing inherently wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with being who you are. There's nothing wrong with wanting to defend yourself and your country and your interests. And that just gives us so much hope. it gives us hope that we are not at the mercy of a ivory tower managerial class that we did not vote for and does not care for us, that infests every major cultural institution, that infests the academy, that infests the press, that infests the entertainment industry, that infests everything. And they control the loudspeakers of culture, and they're constantly blaring their message, telling us that we are bad.
It's the liberal establishment trying to bring you down.
Absolutely. And now we have thrashed them.
Yes.
And they have to live for at least 4 years in our world.
So one more thing I want to bring up before we put an end to this segment of the video. But I want to talk about the attack on globalism that this election and Brexit really was.
Yes.
And what this election means for Western civilization as a whole.
Paul, you're speaking my language.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine I am. So it seems like other Western countries are going to be following our footsteps in their elections coming up. Like Marine Le Pen in France is probably gonna end up winning now.
She will definitely be in the second round at least. Now, the problem with the Le Pen situation is that France has a political system specifically designed to keep any kind of nationalist movement down. Because basically this happened I guess it was last year now, or yeah. When La Front National, France had their departmental elections, like their state elections. And La Front National won big in the first round. Then the second round happened. The socialists withdrew and said, back the Republicans. And so the Front National won nothing. My concern there is they'll do the same thing with the presidency. But I think you're right in that this is going to ignite the movement. The national populist movement that is sweeping the West. I actually have a tweet here from Frauke Petri. She is the leader of AfD, the Alternative for Germany. And she said, Die Amerikaner haben sich für den politischen Neuanfang und gegen Filzkorruption entschieden. Diese Chance ist historisch. Now that means the Americans have decided for a new political beginning and against filth and corruption. This chance is historic.
Okay. And
this is going to serve as a rallying cry, because under the Obama presidency, the United States has become a center for essentially exporting progressive ideology to the world. But now the message is going to change. Now you're going to see the stirrings of the peoples of Europe and the West as a whole, and they are going to rise up, and they're going to take back their countries, as the United Kingdom has done, as I hope France will do, and as we have done now. As we have done now.
All right. Well, it seems like this is big news for Western civilization as a whole, and we'll see what direction these European elections take in the upcoming months and years. It's going to be very exciting, and I'm very excited. I did not vote for Trump, as I said, but I'm so happy that the establishment got knocked down last night, and well, technically this morning for me. I think like 4 hours ago. I was up till 3 a.m. I woke up at 6:30 to do this. I'm on like no sleep. But I want to thank.
Well, you look great, Paul.
I don't know about that. I want to thank Charlie for getting on with us. He has been our great Trumpist on this podcast, and I hope that he continues to come on because his vision of the future is certainly an interesting take that I think people deserve to hear about. So I want to say that if you stick on, it'll be me and Frank talking for the rest of the episode. So Charlie, you can give your goodbye.
We made America great again. Godspeed.
Godspeed, and peace, guys.
I'm just texting people.
What is up, guys? Okay, so we just finished talking to Charlie, the Trumpist of the group. He gave his perspective on how he thought the results of the election really spoke to him. And obviously Trump winning, he's obviously very excited about that. But some of us aren't so happy, and I'd say the three of us Well, I'm more neutral. I think Frank's more neutral, and I think
No, I'm fucking ecstatic in a weird way. Without keep going.
in a weird way. All right, but let's talk a little bit about how this actually happened. So there's been a lot of speculation out there about the secret Trump voter. Do you guys believe that there was a secret, that the secret Trump voter was actually a thing now that we've seen the results?
I mean, yeah, look at Wisconsin and Michigan.
Well, there's actually I'll chime in right off the bat. There's mixed data. There's an indicator that the polls missed some of it for this election, in terms of the percentages and how it turned out. But at the same time, Trump got actually less votes than McCain or Romney total. So it's I don't think that there's a definitive answer as to a secret Trump vote or not.
Yeah, I mean, it was just low voter turnout all around. I'd say Trump satisfied his base. He got the people that he appealed to go to the polls. There's a lot of Republicans that didn't go, obviously disenfranchised. There's a lot of Democrats that didn't go. They weren't too enthusiastic with Hillary Clinton. Frank, what do you think?
I really think there was the hidden Trump voter, because if you look at Wisconsin and Michigan, that shouldn't have happened. It really shouldn't have. That's why it's amazing to me, because it's hilarious that Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, he lost by barely a point. It's incredible. Ron Johnson won.
I know. If
Trump actually helped the Republican Party and strengthened it, and I'll admit that I was wrong. He got more Hispanic and African American votes than Mitt Romney and John McCain.
I know. It's crazy. Danny, what do you think about that weird factoid? Because they talked about it on the news when I was watching last night. I just couldn't believe that was the case. What do you think?
Oh, the Hispanic vote?
Yeah, percentage-wise, not maybe number-wise, but percentage-wise.
Yeah, percentage-wise, I'm really curious for all the data to come in. I think it's going to be a little bit before we can really definitively get into all the details and the nitty-gritty of it. I think if I had to take a guess, I think the Cuban-American vote probably showed up for Trump in particular. And I think he probably didn't do as poorly with Puerto Ricans as some of the polling might have suggested, which are the two, and those two groups historically are the more conservative-leaning groups of the Latino vote. But I also am curious how turnout played into that dynamic, because percentages can be misleading because of turnout. Like Mitt Romney got 7% of the black vote and Trump got 8%, but the black vote didn't materialize in part due to various laws that have been put into place in certain states. And that I think is going to be the real curiosity when all the data comes in. How ultimately was North Carolina's vote affected, and how even Wisconsin's vote was affected in Milwaukee with voter ID laws.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely, turnout was definitely low, and it's definitely going to be interesting to find out what those particular laws had, what effect that those laws had on certain voters who normally would probably vote Democratic, what effect it had on them in those individual states. And we'll find that out probably in the upcoming weeks, maybe
very soon.
Yeah, but very, very soon. And maybe we'll talk about it, maybe we won't, but we'll probably talk about it. We'll probably talk about it.
The early data does seem to suggest that at least in Wisconsin it made a difference. North Carolina might not have changed the results, but Wisconsin very well changed the results.
Very well could be. Very well could have. So one thing I want to jump onto right now is, so we mentioned turnout low. Trump's base came out. We mentioned
for the record, for the listeners, lowest turnout since 2000.
I mean, who can blame him, honestly?
Yeah, who could?
I certainly
can't
don't
believe
blame
Ron
him.
Johnson won. I really can't. I need more alcohol.
All right, for those who don't know, Frank got very, very drunk last night and
it was
basically made
fantastic.
like 24 like Facebook posts, and he's like, "Oh, I swear this is my last Facebook post."
But in my defense, I've gotten a lot of likes. I mean, a lot of people laughed, so it was all good. So.
Okay, so a little bit about how a Trump presidency will look like. So we talked a little bit about. We already talked a little bit about. I mean, I'm tired of talking about how it happened because we have an idea, basically. The secret Trump voters, what Danny just said, with possible the voter ID in Wisconsin. But what's a Trump presidency going to look like? Is he going to stay with his base, or is he going to make a real 180 shift? Because a lot of people have been saying this for a long time. Oh, Trump's going to enact conservative policies. Trump's liberal on some issues. Is he actually going to stop the trade deals? Is he going to build the wall? What do you guys think? And go ahead.
I'm going to quote a reporter on Twitter here who only had this to say. He's been covering Trump pretty much exclusively for 15 months. And anyone who thinks they know what Trump is going to do is lying, because the only thing Trump has ever been consistent on in his entire fucking life is trade deals. Everything else, nobody fucking knows.
I certainly agree with that statement. He's been talking about trade deals for decades, actually. Frank, what do you think?
I think he's going to change trade deals. I think he's going to seek a relationship with Russia. But everything else, it's up in the air. I don't know what he's going to do with healthcare. I highly doubt the wall, but we'll see. There are some things you can see. He's definitely going to appoint conservative Supreme Court justices. Hallelujah. Because of that list, and he has to.
We got saved.
And to get anything to work with the Senate and the House, he's going to have to do compromises and deals. So we'll see. I'm just curious because the last time the party had a liberal Republican was Nixon. So I'm using the Nixon model in comparison to Trump. So
that would probably be best case scenario.
Yeah, I would say it is. That is the best case scenario. If our viewers who don't know, Nixon, while Republican, formed the EPA.
I was about to say that.
And OSHA.
Yeah. Nixon did possibly more for African Americans and single women than the Democratic Party ever did during that time. So
he also took us
Nixon in the black population. Let's not get into that's a discussion.
Well, if you look at affirmative action and Nixon, you will find out that he did quite a lot for him. But
he also took us off gold 100%. But I'm the libertarian, so obviously I care about that. But yeah.
Let's talk about Gary Johnson. He didn't reach 5%. I was kind of disappointed by that.
No, he didn't. I'm actually not surprised either.
Really? I was thinking he was going to get. Oh yeah, later on he blew it.
What do you got? Like 3-4%? I think he got 3 points.
He got 3% total.
Which isn't the worst thing in the world. That's like what, 3 million?
Did we?
I think it was 4.
I'm not sure, but I know he got 3 million. Harambe got 15,000 votes. So
I
don't
hate people.
I love people. Oh my god, it was amazing.
But
was fantastic.
I don't think third parties are going to be blamed so much this time around, just because we had Jill Stein, we had McMullen, and we had Gary Johnson. So we had I feel like them together all kind of evened themselves out.
Siphoned off a lot of the main party's votes. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so that's why I feel like every person who voted third party is just waiting to get blamed. I'm just here
I'm just very curious about the ground game. Clinton had, without question, the best ground game. Still lost. I don't know.
Well, it's like what Charlie said. You can't a ground game versus enthusiasm, and that's basically the enthusiasm won out this time around, at least for Trump.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Honestly, I would point more. Well, in some states, I think it depends. I think the problem here is because it's the Electoral College. I think we're stuck looking at it on a state by state level. In Florida, his enthusiasm pushed him by most accounts because Clinton hit the margins she wanted to. But in Pennsylvania, they actually didn't hit what the ground game expected to. So the ground game actually failed in Pennsylvania, and that's what
probably
there.
probably hurt her. I mean, she only lost by 1% in Pennsylvania, so it wasn't a big victory.
She lost. I think Nate Silver pointed out. I think 1% made the difference between Clinton losing and a 300 electoral win for her.
Wow.
Wow.
So, yeah.
It's crazy.
This fucking election came down to the most ridiculous way possible.
I mean,
and I love it so. Makes life so much interesting.
The fucking popular vote.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the popular vote in the Electoral College. So, as all of you viewers probably know, because you probably had it hammered to you by people on the left and probably Trump people trying to be like, well, I love the electoral system now. But anyway, Trump obviously won the electoral. Trump loves. Trump got 305 electoral votes. That's what he's estimated to get at this point. Hillary Clinton, what is it, like 240 something, 244, 243, something like that.
I don't know the exact numbers.
I'm just trying to do the math in my head because I know it has to add up to whatever. But yeah, 539, I think. So
538. It's the name. It's Nate Silver's site is named after it.
That makes sense. There you go.
I know that.
Right,
Did not know that.
So it's 273 then. So yeah, so 243. Yeah, 243. So, but Clinton won the popular vote. Not as much as Gore did back in 2000, mind you.
Keep in mind, California's vote will continue to add up over time.
I mean,
according to the analysis of the vote, when all is said and done, she will likely have a 2 percentage point lead in the popular vote.
That's cool.
It says 100% done on.
Yeah. I'm reading a lot of interesting things. I'm reading about people who want to abolish the electoral system. I'm reading a lot of ignorant stuff like that, and it's pretty interesting on Facebook right now.
Before this,
I mean, it's 200,000 right now. If it's more later, it's more later. But it's 200,000 votes as of right now. So that's obviously
the percentages don't particularly matter either way. She won the popular vote. That's
she did. Even if it was a sliver, she won.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about why that happened. So obviously, her main states, the Californias, the New Yorks, they obviously went to bat for her really, really hard because there's a lot of big cities in those states. So, I mean, one thing I've always wondered is that if we did abolish the Electoral College, and I don't know if you guys would advocate for that, would you?
No.
No.
I'm of two minds. I mean, historically, it hasn't been consistently a problem, but suddenly we're in a point where 3 Republican terms in my lifetime, and 2 of them they didn't win the popular vote.
Well, it's not forget Bill Clinton. I think in 93 or 96, he didn't win the popular vote. There's been Democratic vote. He was the most recent Democratic one.
Hang on.
It's not just Republicans.
Let me look up. I think he still won the popular vote. 92 popular vote. This is why Google is useful. Okay. I hate my stupid replacement computer. It scrolls ridiculous. Oh yeah, no. Bill Clinton won 5 million more votes than HW.
Oh, you're 96? I remember hearing that he didn't.
I'll look up 96, but I think his...
I don't remember hearing about that ever, but maybe. Denny, keep us updated.
Yeah.
So yeah,
hang on, I got it right here. In '96, Bill Clinton won 8 million more votes.
Never mind, I read something else. It was Ross Perot, something else.
All right, so Denny, you said you were of 2 minds of it. Explain, because I'm also of 2 minds.
Historically, it hasn't been a problem, but now we're at a point where, because of the shifting population centers, we end up with this ridiculous setup where the majority of the country votes one way and loses. I mean, I don't know how to reconcile that.
So you want majority rule, what you're saying is?
Like I said, I'm of 2 minds. I don't know how to come to terms with this because, again, the Republican Party has only won in the last 30 years. The Republican Party has won the popular vote in 2004 and 1988.
Yeah,
Like,
but there's multiple variables. You
I'm
can't
just
blame
saying,
the
like,
electoral system on that. For Donald Trump in this election, you can blame Evan McMullin. You can blame Gary Johnson. You can even blame Donald Trump. It was a low election year. I mean, you can't.
I can blame a lot
Republican
of
Party is failing, and that's why we need to. Change it because it's like saving the Republican Party in a way. I don't buy that.
Listen, all that.
There's a lot of variables that
it's a lot,
but there's multiple variables.
of course, but the part that's sticking in the just gnawing at me is
that Clinton lost.
No, well, yeah, that's obvious. But on this issue of the popular vote, is it going to get better from here? How many more cycles do we risk happening in the future?
To the viewers who are watching, if we eliminate the Electoral College, most candidates would just be campaigning in large urban areas,
California,
big population areas. That's why the electoral system's in place, to help out states with low populations and rural areas.
And the irony ends up being that none of these people ever come to California or New York to earn votes. They instead spend the last 30 years in goddamn Ohio because...
Yeah, no, it's not the best system.
Ohio, Florida. I mean, it's always those. I mean...
Maybe now Wisconsin and Michigan, we shall see.
Yeah, and Minnesota. I mean... Yeah. The map does change over time. Florida is still consistently a swing state. Ohio, he won by 10 points. So that was crazy.
Yeah, which is kind of shocking to me because Kasich didn't endorse him. And I have nothing to say about that.
Wrecked.
I thought he was going to lose.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, he was always going to win Ohio. He was up.
Think so? I didn't see that.
Actually, most of the maps that had him losing gave him Ohio.
Really? I just thought towards the end.
Even a lot of maps gave him Florida.
Towards the end, I thought Trump was going to lose the trifecta.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Hence why I got drunk last night.
All right. So again, yeah, Electoral College versus popular vote. It's a tough issue because the Electoral College, it does help the smaller states out. It gives them more of a say.
Assuming they're a swing state.
Assuming they're a swing state. But even like
Lord knows New Mexico doesn't get much attention.
But even like 3 electoral votes,
it'll probably change.
But even like 3 electoral votes, like the states with 500, 600,000 people, it gives them more of a say, and it makes them feel more important than than they really are in the scheme of things, because population-wise they have the 1 + 2, so it's 3. So I mean. But the popular vote, obviously, it would just make more. It would make more sense, at least in the modern times. It would have each individual having their vote actually matter more, and because everything should always come down to the individual. That's my position as a libertarian, or a classical liberal, whatever.
And also, if we're being perfectly honest, Electoral College or popular vote aside, we really need to take a look at our election system and figure out how to make it easier for people to vote. Because at the end of the day, 46% of this country didn't participate.
Yeah, that's probably unique to this election. And
no, it's not. It's not that far off.
It's not.
Well, one of the variables it plays an effect, and people just don't care to vote. That's another thing. That's a culture.
Yeah, people
right
just
now.
don't.
But in other countries,
vote, honestly.
What other countries then?
They still, I know, but if we make it easier for people to vote, even if they don't vote enthusiastically or they vote out of
voting's got to take effort. I feel like you got to get up. Wait online for X amount of time. It's got.
I don't think the government should force people to vote. I think it's up to them.
No, I'm not saying force people to vote, but make mail-in ballots more common.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, people have the option to do early voting in some states.
Which should be a thing in New York State. Shout out to
it should be.
Yeah, no, and the states that are doing it have some of the better turnout.
Yeah,
Florida's turnout was up.
And it should be up to the individual states to decide that, because they decide their own election laws.
That's actually a good question.
They should, but at the same time, they should be.
Sidetracking why New York doesn't have that. I need to look it up later.
Oh yeah, look it up. All right, so
New York's actually very strict on election laws in all forms, like our party affiliations. It is kind of ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
I know nothing about it.
I took a state and local class, and oh boy, it was okay. We're getting sidetracked now. So
yeah.
All right. So Trump presidency. We already said that he's a little unpredictable.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So Republicans has the Senate still, and they have the House still. With now a Republican president coming into office in a little over 2 months, do we think Trump is going to be able to work properly with the House and Senate? I mean, I personally think that he is going to properly work with them. I think he's going to properly work with everyone personally. But we had some Republican agendas, and Danny, I know you might want to talk about this. What do you think?
I'm terrified of certain policies going through without any restriction. I mean, I get that if a Republican won, I was always going to have to get used to certain things on immigration, like if Romney had won. But with Trump, I'm hoping I'm basically in this weird scenario where I'm hoping for various moving parts on the Republican side to clash in just the right places so that the worst of what I don't want to see happen doesn't happen.
And what is the worst?
Wall.
Mike Pence's entire record on gay rights.
Right, and that's
the wall. Yeah.
The gay rights thing. That's something I've been seeing that has been posted by a lot of people. Yeah, it's been posted by okay, what are you doing? It's been posted by a lot of people on the left, mostly talking about Trump. Now, a few months ago, Trump has said that he may. I don't know. I didn't watch the interview, but I actually I looked it up to see what they were talking about. They said that Trump may try to overturn marriage equality. Now, he hasn't said anything since then, and probably because of the Orlando shooting happened after the fact, and he hasn't said anything about that since then. He also has this position on transgender bathrooms, which he changed his positions on. He's like, oh, well, honestly, I thought it was better. I think, what state was that? Alabama?
North Carolina.
Alabama and North Carolina. No, I think it's North Carolina.
North Carolina had the bathroom law.
All right, well, whichever state had the law, Trump's basically said, he says, well, it was better before the law. And then afterwards he went back on. He said, well, states should make their own decisions, which both are still, one's more of a liberal position, one's more of a, I'm not giving you my position. So I'm not sure what Trump's opinion on gay marriage is or homosexuality. I think personally, and for all the liberals out there who might disagree with me, not Danny specifically, but I think Trump is more open-minded to it than a Mike Pence would be for sure. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that's absolutely the majority consensus on the left. Like, even if people don't think Trump's good for gay rights, they think he's better than Pence.
He's better than most Republicans.
Yeah. That's actually one where I'm hoping Trump gets more of a say, like, tell Mike Pence, cut it out, that's not worth dealing with.
I have an interesting...
That's one where I'm hoping Trump has the edge. But on the other hand, I'm hoping Pence has more of an edge on foreign policy. I'm hoping the Senate has more control on immigration.
Oh my God, that's so specific. To go back to the...
I know. That's the part that's most frustrating for me right now. I don't know where the sanity is on which issues at the moment.
To get back to gay rights for just a second here, I thought about it, and something interesting came to me. Is it just me, or is Donald Trump going to be, at the time of taking the oath of office, the most pro-LGBT president at the time of taking the oath of office?
Why do you say that? I totally disagree with that.
Who else has been more pro? Donald Trump. Barack Obama was against gay marriage in 2000.
But he later changed his mind, so you're just going to totally discount
I said at the time of taking the oath of office.
He was still
Donald Trump is against. Yeah, go ahead.
He was still vocally in favor of civil unions at the time, which at the time was considered as good as we could optimistically hope for.
Yeah,
obviously it shifted, but Obama was in the right path. I mean, Bernie Sanders didn't even come out vocally in favor of gay marriage specifically until 2009.
Did not know that.
So could Donald Trump?
He was always in favor of gay rights, but
So could Donald Trump actually be the most, well, out there and maybe not secretive, but the most pro-LGBT at the time they take the oath of office? Whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's a hard thing to judge because you'd have to look at it at each point in time. That's an issue that's moved so quickly. Like, people forget, but it was a big deal when Bill Clinton came in and said, I think gays should be able to serve in the military. They're people. And it's like, oh my God,
Yeah,
how
that's
could
so
you
true.
say such a thing? My God, blah, blah, blah. People freaked out. And now it's like, Bill Clinton helped pass DOMA and Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He was terrible. It's like, you contextualize it.
Time to scroll.
I don't know. Like I said, gay marriage is one where I actually think I hope Trump has more say in the administration. I think, at the very least, I hope Ivanka has a little bit of his ear, and I think I feel like
Ivanka.
she's for that.
Yeah, she's so hot.
All right.
I mean, to his credit, since 2000, he has been against discrimination against gay people. I mean, I'm just doing reading on it because I never really focused in the area.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, he's
opposed to marriage equality. That's a given.
Yeah, but
And
he says that he might be evolving on that issue in like a few years ago, and maybe he only said it this time to cater his base. There's a lot of scenarios. Maybe he's against gay marriage, but I think he's pro-LGBT in general. Maybe just not marriage. I don't know why, but whatever.
Social conservatives, that's why, Paul.
Do we now? Let's say Trump puts in Supreme Court justices on the line of Antonin Scalia. Let's say that, God forbid, another judge passes in the next 4 years, and Donald Trump puts another person in. So two new judges, and the conservative side has more of a majority. Could they overturn marriage equality? Do you think that would ever happen?
I think it's very possible.
It's possible. It's very possible. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. On the Roe v. Wade is possible. So we shall see.
Roe v. Wade wouldn't be the worst thing, though.
It wouldn't be. Well, it depends on perspective, but
right now, one of my hopes that I know I'm being optimistic with, because it won't happen, is if Trump wants to make a good faith signal, he keeps Merrick Garland to replace Scalia, because right now the judges who are oldest and sickest are Breyer, Ginsburg, and Kennedy. There's a very good chance that a conservative will take the bench in this next term, and Garland is not a progressive darling, but he's at least likely to be moderate in the vein of Kennedy.
I disagree there. But I don't think he's gonna choose Garland because McConnell's gambit did pay off of not voting for it. So
I know, right? How the hell
it's not
did that
gonna.
happen?
It's not gonna. If the Senate decides to put Garland in, that would just be stupidity on their part.
But
they did all of that.
Think about it from this perspective, and this is why I think there's a.
When a moderate like Kennedy does reach his end, I think they will replace him with a moderate. So Garland will be there for later.
Mm.
I think that's.
They may use the parliamentary, actions redos to kill a filibuster. We have no idea what can happen.
If there were the nuclear option.
Can I actually just point out my logic behind seeing a possibility of Trump keeping Garland?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Think about it from Trump's perspective. Trump doesn't give a fuck about Mitch McConnell. First of all,
That is very true.
does not give a shit about what Mitch McConnell went through to get a conservative on the court. If in the next 2 months or so, Obama and Trump have the likely meetings where they share notes and kind of work on passing the torch. If Obama can convince Trump, it'd be a good faith reach out to independents and liberals that he's willing to be the president in a way that, more like Mitt Romney, we can tolerate. May not be happy, but we'll survive. And if he,
I mean, you guys tolerated Obama for so long.
Oh, so brutal.
Yeah, of course. But think about it from Trump's perspective. You get the chance to look above partisanship. You get a judge who, by all accounts, even for conservatives, is a solid judge. It's more of the fact that you're replacing Scalia that bugs them. And then you know for a fact that the oldest and sickest judges on the court are the liberals. You're likely going to get another Supreme Court pick. There's a lot of upside to picking Garland. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but right now, to me, it's one of the most genuine ways Trump can calm the tension.
It would certainly be I certainly would not expect it.
No, because
but Danny might. But Danny, I never thought about that. So I don't know.
I don't know if it's likely, but I see it as at the very least possible. And Lord fucking knows, I don't take high percentages for granted.
Fair enough. All right, so I think we're gonna close it here. We already have 20 minutes with Charlie. I think we got about a half hour right now. Yeah, about a half
closing
hour.
statements.
Yeah, we're gonna do some closing statements. Whichever one of you wants to go first. Maybe Frank first, and then Dan.
Oh no! I feel like Dan. I'll let Dan. I have very little to say. I'll let Dan get everything he has to say through.
About the whole of the election and the results. So Danny, go ahead with your closing statements.
I need a second to find the quote I'm looking for.
Put 2016 to rest. Frank, you go then.
All right. Let me make a correction to what I said earlier. Bill Clinton won more votes than George H. and Perot, but he did not win majority of the nation. That was I misinterpreted something. And now back to the election. It's going to be very interesting. Based on perspective, you could be either terrified over Roe v. Wade and marriage equality, which is rightfully so, or you can be optimistic if you're about foreign policy with Russia, different trade deals. It's going to be very unpredictable. Yeah. I am mostly concerned about how the Republican Party is going to function as a whole with the Senate and the executive. I see a lot of clashing. I see already people like Sean Hannity is calling for Paul Ryan to step down. So it's going to be a very interesting 4 years, so strap your belts on.
According to Omarosa, Lindsey Graham better watch out.
Oh, God.
I love
You're going to get shanked.
Omarosa's the best.
Oh, I forgot about Lindsey Graham. He must be really drunk somewhere in a ditch.
Him and John McCain are just holding each other, professing their love.
But
John McCain tweeted Donald Trump, congratulations. So he's not that drunk. He spelled it right.
John McCain. Just for the record, John McCain is such a pansy. The guy called him not a war hero because he got captured, and now he's all right. I'm done. He's just thanking him.
All right, Danny, closing statement.
Well, aside from the fact that I think I'm in this weird place where Lindsey Graham and John McCain are my best hope.
That is crazy.
Yeah, tell me about it. Let's hope John McCain grows that early 2000s spine back.
You wish.
Yeah, I really do. To be perfectly honest, I've kind of been going through a whole wave of emotions in the last 24 hours or so. For the record, I was actually at the Javits Center for the.
Oh my God, that's
Clinton
amazing!
Thing.
Keep going.
Yeah.
All right, I'm stop.
I've been making this joke all day. I have 100% genuinely been to wakes that were cheerier than that building became.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy. Oh, I actually regret not going with you for other reasons, but keep going.
Oh my God,
trust me, it was an ordeal. It was a very long day before even the results.
What time did you
came
get
in.
there? I mean, I know we're sidetracked, but what time did you wait? I'm just curious. What time, I was going to message you.
I got there probably, I think, like noon.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
The waiting around wasn't terrible.
Oh, that's good.
The fact that I've been to the gym as much as I have lately made standing way less stressful than it used to be for me.
That's good.
Anyway, and yeah, that was a depressing beginning to this, 5 stages of grief. A stadium basically full of people just slowly losing hope.
So depressing.
For me personally, there's a lot of things about Trump and how the effect he could have on minority communities that I'm concerned about and empathize with. But one thing that really sticking with me is just this rewarding of his ignorance above all else. That it didn't matter what the facts were. It didn't matter the issues and the actual debates on issues. It was, he could get away with saying whatever he wanted and he still got to be the president. And that's going to take me some time to really fully deal with. But I think it's forcing me to double down on the idea that I'm not going to let that slide. I can't let apathy take over, and because apathy is how we got this in the first place. If the Democrats had turned out, they could have changed it. Apathy is the worst possible thing, along with cynicism. And actually, this brings me to the quote I was looking for. It's back when Conan O'Brien was losing the Tonight Show, and it popped back into my head recently, in the last day or so. And it's please do not be cynical. Nobody in life gets exactly what they thought they were going to get. But if you work really hard and you're kind, I'm telling you, amazing things will happen. And I think that's what I'm going to have to stick with for the next 4 years. Like, giving into cynicism is easy. Giving into apathy is easy. But one of the few things I'm choosing to take as a bright spot in, ultimately, for me, not a very good day, is all the people who have reached out to each other and strengthened their resolve on protecting people in the LGBT community, in the Muslim community, in the Latino community. I think it's going to be rough, but I think as long as people hold on to a certain degree of optimism and strength, it's something that we can bear through.
Okay, and that's very powerful statement.
Quote Mick Jagger, you can't always get what you want. You get what you need.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And the ending of a powerful statement with Frank McJagger.
Apparently neither me or Trump wanted Pence.
So, I
I
really hope to quote Dave Rubin then, I guess, to say, is said that eventually it's almost as if you endlessly call people bigots and racist, they'll eventually get fed up and turn on you. I hope the Democratic Party and those on the left.
I was watching Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder, that's what I was watching last night. I'll give my final statements for the election of 2016. I walked into the election thinking Rand Paul had a shot. I was thoroughly disappointed. I walked in thinking in the middle that Gary Johnson had a shot of somehow turning the tides. I was disappointed by a lot of it by how he spoke. Didn't garner a lot of enthusiasm.
What is Aleppo?
What is Aleppo? I was not enthusiastic in the least bit. I mean, I was not enthusiastic at all with Donald Trump as my Republican choice and Hillary Clinton as my Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump as my choices for the main party candidates. So I have been apathetic, at least in terms of which one of those two personally win. I am a little happy that the establishment got destroyed this election by Donald Trump. I'm disappointed that it wasn't done by a libertarian or a classical liberal beating down the system on their own. Instead, we had to revert to right-wing populism. which I'm not a big fan of. But, you know, it has its ups, it has its downs, and we'll see where Trump takes it, and we'll see where the establishment goes from here. So if you guys take anything away from this election, know that nationalism won. It's no longer a globalist world out there that's been knocked down by the UK, and it's been knocked down by America. And it's going to happen in Europe too, the rest of Europe rather. So keep your eyes out for that. So that's all I have to say.
The French election just got a lot more interesting, I'll tell you that.
You're damn fucking right. Marine Le Pen, baby. But Charlie actually had some interesting things to say about that when we talked earlier. So be sure to watch that when I edit it. So this has been the Political Spectrum Podcast. I'm Paul, your token libertarian.
And Frank, the token Republican, who may be kicked out of his party very soon.
I'm Danny, and I'm still here. We'll work forward from there.
Still alive, but barely breathing.
All right, so this has been our after-election thoughts, analysis, and somewhat feelings. So until Sunday, where we talk about criminal justice reform, peace.
Adios.